Erica, baby, don't forget the barbecue next Saturday at Aunt Regina's. Your cousin already put you down to help serve the seniors. Erica cradled her phone between her shoulder and cheek, adjusting the strap on her tote bag as she moved through her apartment. I remember, Ma. You've only reminded me every day this week. I just don't want you slipping out like last time. You know how Regina gets. I didn't slip out, Erica said, grabbing her keys from the hook by the door. I got called into work. You always getting called into work. That job better be giving you overtime. Erica smiled, pulling her locks into a quick half-up twist and pinning them into place. It's fine, Ma. I'll be there. I'll even wear the apron. Good. And don't wear those dusty sneakers. Put on something nice. You know your cousin Charisse bringing her friend, the one I told you about from the bank. Erica didn't have the energy to explain again that she wasn't interested in Charisse's idea of matchmaking. Instead, she slicked her book of poems into her bag and gave herself a quick glance in the mirror. Espresso brown skin catching the light, brows thick and arched, mouth still curved from her mother's meddling. I gotta go, she said. Bus is in 5. You better eat something. I will. You better. The line clicked off. Erica exhaled and slung her bag over her shoulder. Settling into her usual seat by the window, Erica reached into her bag and pulled out her poetry book. It was worn and familiar, pages soft from use, corners curled. A small comfort ritual. She flipped to one of her favorites and began to read, mouthing the words under her breath, humming gently. It was the way she grounded herself before work, letting the rhythm of someone else's voice carry her, even if just on the page. Around her, the city moved in gray tones and early rush, but inside the quiet of her seat, the world slowed to verse. Landford Real Estate's office tower loomed like a mirror against the morning sky when she arrived. Erica swiped her keycard and nodded to the security guard. She liked getting there early, before the clatter of keyboards and espresso machines, before the office became a hive of productivity and pretension. The marketing and research floor was still dark, except for a strip of lights near the far corner. Her desk sat close to the windows, away from the main bustle. She dropped her bag, powered up her computer, and reached for the tea tin she kept tucked behind the monitor. Then she saw it, another poem, folded into a tight square, just like the others, resting neatly on her keyboard. She glanced around, empty. She picked it up, heart skipping just a little, and unfolded it slowly. The handwriting was elegant, slightly angled, not rushed. A voice that knew silence. A voice that watched. You move like morning refuses to begin without you. Soft steps that hush the sun into rising. I watch, but you never see me. Erica read it twice, 3 times. The corners of her mouth lifted, but not quite into a smile. More like a private wonder. Whoever it was, they saw her. Not loudly, not in the way people sometimes looked at her when they wanted something. This was different. She tucked the poem into the back of her book, behind the others. Then she turned on her monitor, made her tea, and slipped her earbuds in. Her humming returned, low and melodic, as the office lights blinked on around her. But the morning still belonged to her, and someone else, somewhere nearby, knew it too. Erica had just wrapped a report presentation and sent it off when her phone buzzed against the desk. A name flashed on the screen like a fire alarm. Aunt Regina. She glanced around. The office had mostly filled by now, voices rising in tandem with the coffee pot whirring. She debated letting it go to voicemail. But Aunt Regina was not the type to appreciate that. Hi, Auntie, Erica answered softly, turning slightly in her chair to shield the conversation. Erica, Simone Abram, tell me you haven't forgotten about the party. I haven't, Erica said, already bracing herself. Because your cousin tells me you've been volunteered to help serve, God bless you. But I have one more teensy tiny request. Erica closed her eyes. How teensy? You know those chocolate chip cookies you make, the ones with the sea salt on top? Oh no. Oh yes. Aunt Regina said with theatrical flair. The seniors love them. I'm telling you. Last year, Mr. Russell took a whole tray and tried to hide it in his walker. Erica couldn't help but laugh. That man has no shame. Exactly. So if you could just whip out a batch or two, nothing major. A batch or two is like 4 dozen, Auntie. Yes, and they freeze beautifully, which is why I'm calling now and not Friday night. I'm thoughtful that way. Erica exhaled through a smile. All right, I'll make them. I knew I could count on you. Don't make them too sweet. Claire is still pretending she's on keto. They hung up, and Erica set her phone down with a small thud. Her weekend was officially over before it started. Across the aisle, Miley leaned over the top of the cubicle wall with a wide grin. Let me guess. Family drama? Family demands, Erica said, swiveling her chair slightly. What now? I've been roped into baking for the cookout. Ah, Miley said with mock sympathy. That classic bring your famous cookies trap. They never even asked if I had plans. You don't. That's not the point. Miley chuckled and dropped into the spare chair near Erica's desk. She was the opposite of Erica in nearly every way. Blonde, loud, impulsive. But somehow, the two of them had found an easy rhythm, built on quick sarcasm and shared disdain for most of their co-workers' dramatics. What kind of cookies? Miley asked, propping her chin in her palm. Chocolate chip, but the good kind. Brown butter, flaky salt, crispy edges. You know you just described the dream man, right? Erica snorted. Miley leaned closer. Be real. Do these mythical family barbecues ever end with you falling in love with a mysterious neighbor or distant cousin's friend? Erica shook her head. Only in movies. That's a crime. If I'm making cookies, I expect at least one meaningful flirtation in return. I'm usually too busy pouring sweet tea and dodging questions about why I'm not married. Miley grinned. You should bring one of your bucks, sit under a tree and read like some elusive love interest from a coming-of-age movie. I do that. Miley blinked. Of course you do. Erica smiled to herself, then glanced back at her desk. Her poetry book sat nestled next to her monitor, and inside it, another folded square of mystery. She hadn't mentioned the notes to anyone, not even Miley. It felt too delicate to share. Like if she said it out loud, it might stop. Miley was still going on about a cousin of hers who tried to start a pyramid scheme at their last family reunion. But Erica only half listened. Her fingers traced the book's spine gently. The poem was still there. Quiet. Waiting. Like the rest of her life maybe. Soft and unfolding. Just out of reach. The conference room smelled like polish and pedigree. Ivan Landford sat motionless in one of the high-backed chairs, platinum blonde hair immaculately in place, a silver watch gleaming at his wrist. His tailored charcoal suit hugged his broad shoulders with the kind of precision that came from custom fittings, not off the rack. No wrinkles, no error. Just like him. Across from him, Helen Landford went on, again, about image, lineage, expectations. To be a Landford, she said with practiced grandeur, means understanding the weight your name carries. It means choosing wisely, appearing flawlessly, and never, never wasting your time with people who diminish the brand. Ivan blinked slowly, his sharp jaw tightening. His mother's voice was syrupy with command, a melody sharpened over decades. It didn't invite discussion. It expected obedience. He didn't respond. His blue eyes, so often described in the press as piercing, stared blankly past her. The truth was, he had stopped listening 5 minutes ago. His mind had wandered to her. Erica Abram, 4 floors below, quiet, sharp, untouchable. She never spoke unless it mattered. Never lingered in the break room. Never laughed too loud. She moved through the office like a passing breeze, almost unnoticed. Except he noticed. Every day. Every morning she came in early, and every Friday he left a poem on her desk. Handwritten, folded just some. It was the only part of his week that felt real. Which is why I've invited the Evans over, his mother continued, snapping him out of it. Their niece will be joining us. She went to Yale, speaks fluent Italian. Her father's in biotech. No, Ivan cut in, cool and surgical. Helen blinked. What do you mean, no? I mean, I won't be there. Her lips thinned. And why not? I have to fly to London. There's a meeting with Faro Equity. Can't that wait? No. Helen scoffed like it was a personal insult. You'd skip dinner with the Evans for a meeting? This is exactly what I'm talking about, Ivan. You're 30 years old. When do you plan to start behaving like a Landford instead of a machine? His eyes, blue, cold, and unmoved, met hers. Send my regards. Helen exhaled like she was expelling decades of disappointment. One day, this loneliness you insist on cultivating will catch up to you. But Ivan was already done. He stood, smooth and silent, a force of habit rather than rebellion. Goodbye, mother. He didn't slam the door when he left. That would have been too emotional, too human. Ivan Landford didn't do outbursts. He did exits. 4 floors below, Erica sat at her desk with a notebook open in her lap. The morning's poem had been folded like the others. Neat, deliberate, intentional. She had already read it 3 times. The 4th time, she copied it in her own handwriting. Your silence speaks louder than the boardroom, quieter than the world I want to build around you. I see you, even when you vanish into yourself. She didn't know who wrote them. She didn't need to, not yet. The voice in the letters felt too intimate to force open. Instead, she treasured them quietly, like secrets she didn't want spoiled. Her pen tapped the side of her journal as she thought back to 16-year-old Erica. Awkward limbs, oversized hoodies, a bedroom filled with books instead of friends. The world hadn't always made space for her. At school, she was too quiet. At family events, too weird. Only in poetry did she find a place where silence wasn't shame, it was sanctuary. Back then, she used to hide in the library after lunch and scribble in a spiral notebook. Her favorite poem wasn't one she wrote, it was one she memorized. A single line stuck with her all these years. There are some people who see you, even when you go invisible. She didn't know who saw her now, but someone did. Someone wrote like they heard her. And more importantly, understood her. She added the new poem to the secret section in the back of her notebook and tucked it away before the office buzz got too loud. She glanced toward the hallway that led to the executive offices. No reason, just a flicker of thought. Ivan Landford might as well have been a ghost. Everyone talked about him, but few really saw him. The man was an iceberg in a designer suit. Impeccable, distant. His eyes didn't soften, they sliced. And yet, there was something about the way he corrected Danny's Shakespeare quote at the party. Not pompous, just precise. And for the first time, she wondered, just for a heartbeat, what lay under all that polish. Upstairs, Ivan stepped into his private office and pulled open the drawer of his desk. Inside, a stack of creamy stationery, the edges gold-trimmed. A fountain pen rested next to it. He ran his fingers along the blank page, already thinking about next Friday. The world expected him to marry a woman who looked good in photos, to speak only when it added value, to function, not feel. But every week, through a folded note he would never sign, he let himself slip, just for a moment, into something almost like honesty. He picked up the pen. The elevator doors opened on the 23rd floor with a soft ding, and Ivan Landford stepped out into the muted hum of the marketing and research division. He didn't announce his visits, never did. He believed that people revealed more of who they really were when they didn't have time to prepare for him. The floor was a blend of soft gray carpeting, glass partitions, and low conversation. Analysts leaned over spreadsheets. Designers clicked through campaigns. The team had no idea he was coming, and that was the point. Ivan walked with purpose, hands in his pockets, shoulders square, gaze sharp. His presence, though quiet, always created a ripple. People straightened in their seats. Whispered greetings followed behind him like dust trails. He didn't break stride. Until, impact, she rounded the corner from the employee lounge, one hand holding a napkin to her blouse. A splash of tea had darkened the soft cream fabric, just below the collar. Her eyes flicked up, and for a second, there she was, Erica. She stopped just short of colliding with him, wide-eyed and flushed with embarrassment. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Landford," she said softly, a polite smile brushing her lips. She stepped aside, nodded, and kept walking. Ivan stood, completely still. His heart was pounding. It made no sense. She hadn't touched him. She hadn't even said his name with any special tone. But something about the heat of her proximity, the softness in her voice, it stripped away every composed word he had rehearsed in the elevator. He watched her retreat, her blouse still damp, her stride small and quick. He couldn't call after her. What would he say? "Excuse me, I write you anonymous poems and your existence makes my heart beat too hard." So instead, he turned and walked into the director's office, jaw tight. "Mr. Landford," the director stammered, jumping to his feet. "We weren't expecting you." "I know. I was in the building. I want an overview of current marketing trends, particularly on urban shift demographics and first-time buyers." "Yes, of course. Let me pull that up." Ivan didn't care about the data. Not exactly. But he scanned it anyway, eyes skimming charts and slides, until he found the one with Erica Abram, listed under lead researcher. He locked on the name. "I want to be involved with this," he said. The director blinked. "This project?" "Yes, schedule a meeting with the full team for 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'd like to hear their insights firsthand." The next morning, the entire marketing and research team gathered in the smaller conference room. The energy was stiff. Ivan stood at the head of the table, immaculate as always. No clipboard, no laptop, just him. The team introduced themselves one by one, each offering polite feedback, surface-level insights. Ivan nodded, asked a question here, a clarification there. But something was missing. Someone was missing. His eyes scanned the room again, pausing on her. Erica, seated at the far side of the table, her notes tidy, hands folded. She hadn't spoken. "You," he said, voice cutting through the room like a scalpel. "Miss Abram, I'd like to hear your perspective." The attention turned. Erica blinked. People rarely called on her. Most skimmed past her name or claimed her ideas as their own before she could even speak them aloud. But Ivan had noticed. She sat up straighter, voice steady, though her chest was fluttering. "We've been tracking rising interest from non-traditional buyers, single women in their late 20s, early 30s, particularly women of color, who are buying earlier and prioritizing location over space. The demographic is shifting, and our language in campaigns hasn't caught up yet. We're still marketing like we're talking to older families." The room fell silent. Then a few quiet nods followed. Ivan said nothing. He simply looked at her for a second longer than necessary. Then he said, "Thank you, everyone," and ended the meeting. Erica gathered her things, confused. Her heart was racing from the attention, but also uncertainty. Had she said too much? Not enough? She couldn't read his face. Those blue eyes were impossible to track. She rushed back to her desk and opened the drawer quietly, hands searching for the folded note she hadn't finished reading. The secret poem was still there. She unfolded it again and read it slowly, searching for clues in the rhythm, the phrasing, the way the lines always made space for who she was becoming. "You speak like silence is strength, and I hear you, loudest when you think no one is listening." Her pulse slowed. Someone was listening, somewhere, but who? She folded the note and tucked it away, her fingers lingering on the paper a moment longer. Above her, on the 27th floor, Ivan sat at his desk with a blank page in front of him, and her voice still echoing in his mind. Erica unlocked the door to her apartment, kicked off her shoes, and sighed as the silence wrapped around her like a blanket. She was tired, mentally, emotionally. The day had clung to her like static. The meeting, his voice, the way he had pointed her out. She turned on some soft gospel music and pulled her hair into a loose wrap, heading straight for the kitchen. The cookie ingredients were already lined up on the counter. Flour, butter, sugar, chocolate, sea salt. Something about baking always calmed her. The measuring, the rhythm, the smell of warm vanilla in the air. She melted the butter slowly, letting it brown just enough to release that rich, nutty scent. Then came the sugar, whisked in until the mixture turned glossy. Her movements were methodical, controlled, one step after the next. Halfway through scooping dough onto parchment, her phone rang. Mabel Abram flashed on the screen. Erica wiped her hands on a towel and answered with a soft, "Hey Ma. Just calling to see if you remembered the cookies. I'm making them now." "Well, hallelujah. Because your Aunt Regina's been working my last nerve, talking about tablecloths and cutlery like we're planning the Met Gala." Erica smiled, her first real smile since the meeting. "I'll bring extra. Maybe it'll calm her." "Unlikely. That woman's got energy like a wasp nest. Anyway, you sound tired. Everything all right?" Erica hesitated. Her mother knew her voice too well. "There was a meeting today," she said, picking at a chocolate chip on the counter. "Upper level. Our CEO came." "The Landford boy?" "Mm-hmm. Did something happen?" "He called on me, in front of everyone." There was a beat of silence on the line. "And that rattled you?" "No, not that. Just, no one ever really sees me at work. It was weird." "Well, maybe he sees more than you think." "Don't start," Erica warned playfully. "I'm just saying, a man calls on you once and you sound like you've been rewired. That's not nothing." Erica rolled her eyes but smiled again. "Goodbye, Ma. Baby, go ahead and double that recipe." "Okay, goodbye, Ma." She hung up, scooped the last of the dough, and slid the trays into the oven. The kitchen filled with the scent of home. And for a little while, her thoughts stopped racing. The next morning, Erica arrived at work early, same as always. The building was still stretching itself awake. She took her time, tea in hand, coat draped over her chair. She reached for her notebook, planning to jot down a quick list for the day. But something stopped her. Another note, folded, the same paper, the same clean edges. Only it was Thursday. Her heart knocked against her ribs as she unfolded it, hands already trembling. "You spoke yesterday, and the air in the room changed. I see why you stay quiet. You carry weight in your stillness, but when you speak, the whole room listens." Erica's breath caught. This one wasn't vague. It wasn't just about watching from afar. This person, whoever he was, had been there, in that room, heard her voice, saw her moment. She pressed the paper to her chest for a second, then quickly tucked it back into her book. Her pulse was still tapping out Morse code under her skin when Miley plopped into the extra chair by her desk. "Morning," Miley said, then stopped. "Whoa, you look like you saw a ghost." "I got another one," Erica whispered. Miley raised a brow. "Another what?" Erica looked around, then leaned in. "A poem, but it came today, not Friday, and it references the meeting, the one yesterday." Miley sat up straighter. "Wait, what? You have a secret admirer? And you're just now telling me?" "I didn't want to ruin it," Erica said. "They've been leaving them every Friday, but now I know they're close, like they were in that room." "Oh, this is getting juicy." Miley clapped her hands. "We're solving this, now. Start from the top. Who was in the room?" Erica thought back, mind racing. Director Henson, Tara from PR, Marcus from Strategy, me, and Ivan. Miley let out a low whistle. "You think it's him?" "No," Erica said too fast. Then quieter. "I don't think so. Girl, if it is Ivan Landford, that's a whole movie. I just want to know, not for anything romantic. I need to know who sees me like that, who listens like that." Miley nodded, her face softening. "Okay, so we rule people out one by one. Start paying attention. How they write, how they talk, body language, all of it. Erica gave a small smile. You really want to help me with this? Absolutely. This is the most interesting thing to happen here since the great coffee machine meltdown of April. Erica tucked the note deeper into her book and opened her laptop. Whoever it was, they saw her. And now, she was finally ready to see them too. Ivan Landford moved through the marble lobby of Landford Real Estate with his usual fluid silence, coat over one arm, phone in hand, mind already on the next thing. He didn't expect to be stopped. Mr. Landford, the night security guard, Henry called out. Ivan slowed. He didn't like being interrupted once he mentally clocked out, but he respected the older man. Yes, Henry nodded toward the folded paper in his hand. This was found upstairs on one of the desks. Cleaning staff thought it looked personal. Didn't want to toss it. Ivan took the note without a word. He knew when it was before he even unfolded it. The handwriting was small, steady, feminine. I wasn't expecting another one so soon. But it stayed with me. I'm not used to being seen. Thank you. His chest tightened, not in panic, not even in surprise, but something close to reverence. She'd written back, not a poem, no clever metaphors, just something real. Something that cracked him open in the quietest way. He looked back toward the elevator, toward the empty 23rd floor above them. I'll take care of it, he said softly, slipping the note inside his coat pocket. Henry gave him a look, one of those quiet, knowing expressions older men used when they saw something blooming, but didn't want to embarrass it. Ivan left without another word. Friday morning. Erica hovered outside the elevator longer than usual. The hope was ridiculous, juvenile, but she couldn't help it. She had written back, and that meant something had shifted. When she reached her desk, her heart skipped. Another poem. You wrote back, and I read it more times than I'll admit. You are not invisible, not to me. Short, direct, and completely devastating. Erica sank into her chair, fingers trembling around the edges of the note. The paper felt warmer than it should, like it had absorbed intention. She tucked it into her book, closed it, and pressed her palm flat against the cover. The rest of the workday blurred. Numbers and campaign updates ran together. People talked at her, and she nodded, but her thoughts were somewhere else. Her body was in the office, but her mind? Still wrapped in the lines of that note. Saturday afternoon, the barbecue was in full swing. Music played low from a Bluetooth speaker. Ribs smoked on the grill, and folding chairs creaked under the weight of conversations that stretched back generations. Erica arrived with the trays of cookies and her usual quiet grace. She wore a flowing yellow dress and soft sandals. Her hair was twisted back, the sun catching the gold tones in her skin. She barely made it past the cooler before Aunt Regina pounced. Well, look at you, Regina said, eyes narrowing with interest. You're glowing, little girl. Got that someone's paying attention to me face. Who is it? Erica's cheeks flushed a deep wine red. No one, she said quickly, pulling the cookies closer to her chest like a shield. Regina raised a painted brow. I know that look. I invented that look. Don't play coy with me. Leave that girl alone, Mabel snapped from behind a tray of deviled eggs. Not every smile means a boy, Regina. Erica mumbled something indecipherable and escaped toward the back lawn before either of them could say another word. The seniors sat under a tent, sipping lemonade and telling the same stories they told every year. Erica slid into a chair beside Mr. Russell, who always claimed he'd once outrun a police horse in '78. He greeted her like sunshine. Thought you were too grown to come sit with the old folks. I needed a break, Erica said with a tired smile. She looked out at the yard full of family and laughter, at kids tossing a football, cousins hollering over dominoes, uncles arguing about grills. She reached into her tote and touched the edge of her book. The poems had changed her week, and now, maybe, they were beginning to change her. She didn't know who the sender was, not for sure, but she knew the truth of his words. He saw her, really saw her, and she wasn't ready to run from that anymore. The email subject line popped up around noon. Friendly reminder, Landford Real Estate Summer Party tonight. Erica hovered over it for a second before clicking it open. Details were the same as every year: cocktails on the terrace, light catering, small talk stretched thin across too many people. She almost skipped it, but then she remembered the poems, the meeting, the Thursday note, and suddenly the idea of not going felt like avoiding something she wasn't sure she wanted to avoid anymore. That evening, Erica stepped into the rooftop garden just as the sun began to settle behind the buildings. She wore soft pastels, a pale pink dress with delicate straps that fluttered with the breeze. Her locks were pinned half up again, her gold-toned skin glowing against the skyline. She moved through the crowd quietly, like a breeze passing through linen curtains. People turned to look, but didn't speak. That was Erica's way. She drifted, watched, remembered everything. Then came Danny. "Erica, you look like something straight out of a poem," he said with a grin too wide. She gave him a polite smile, trying to sidestep. But Danny wasn't done. "Speaking of poems, you ever read Shakespeare?" "Of course you have. Beautiful stuff. Shall I compare thee to a golden sunbeam?" No, a glowing ember." Erica winced. Danny fumbled on. "And nothing is as fair as your face," something like that. "Actually," a low voice said behind them. "It goes, 'My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun.'" Erica turned. Ivan Landford, unmistakable in his tailored navy suit. Platinum hair catching the evening light like it was carved from frost. He stood tall, hands in his pockets, blue eyes watching her, but not like a boss watches an employee. Like a man who had studied the moon long enough to memorize its shadows. Danny laughed nervously and melted back into the crowd. Erica stared at Ivan. That voice, the effortless quote, the weight of his words. Her chest tightened. She grabbed Miley and pulled her behind a column near the bar. "Miley," she whispered urgently, "it might be him." "How?" "Him. The poems." Miley blinked. "Landford?" Erica nodded. "He quoted Shakespeare perfectly. And the way he looked at me, it wasn't just casual. And that Thursday poem, he was in the room. What if it's been him this whole time?" Miley blinked. "Okay, breathe." "I can't," Erica said, panic tightening her voice. "He's the CEO. If I'm wrong, it's humiliating. If I'm right, it's terrifying." "Okay, you need air." But Erica was already walking fast, away from the party. She ducked back down to the 23rd floor, through the empty hall, and to her desk. She sat down and tried to catch her breath, pressing her fingers to her temples. Her secret notebook sat in the drawer. She didn't touch it, not yet. Behind her, the elevator doors opened. Soft footsteps. She froze. "Erica." Her name, from his mouth, sounded different, like a secret spoken in the dark. She turned slowly. Ivan stood there. No mask, no distance. Just a man, trying to decide whether to say the thing that would change everything. "I didn't mean to startle you," he said gently. She swallowed hard. "You didn't." They stared at each other for a long moment. Ivan took a small step forward. "You don't have to guess anymore." Her heart flipped. "It's you." "I never meant for it to be something that would overwhelm you," he said. "It was just the only way I could speak freely." Erica's fingers curled over the edge of her desk. "You could have told me." "I wanted you to read the words without a face, to feel them without expectation. But now, after everything, I couldn't keep pretending I wasn't watching you become the brightest part of this place." Silence fell. Not heavy, just charged. Erica stepped back from her desk and looked up at him. Really looked. Not the CEO, not the figurehead. Just the man who saw her when no one else did. And who, despite everything, was waiting for her to speak. "Why me?" Erica asked. Her voice was steady. But her hands were locked together, like they were keeping her grounded. Ivan didn't answer right away. Instead, his gaze drifted slightly, not away from her, but into memory. It was 6 months ago, a foggy Tuesday morning. He'd stopped on the 23rd floor, on the way to a meeting, just to avoid another conversation with his mother about dinner parties and legacy. He hadn't planned to stay. But then he saw her, Erica, seated at her desk before anyone else had arrived, head bent over a book. No sound except for the low hum of her voice, singing. No lyrics, just soft, melodic humming that moved like wind through trees. And for the first time in years, Ivan Landford stood still. She didn't see him, didn't try to be seen. She just was. Entirely herself, entirely somewhere else. And he, a man used to being watched, wanted to stay hidden and just witness her a little longer. That morning, he didn't go straight to his meeting. He wrote a poem instead. His mind returning back to the present, back in the office, standing in front of her now, Ivan said softly, "The first time I saw you, you were humming a tune over a book. You didn't see me. That was the point. You weren't performing. You were just yourself. And I couldn't stop thinking about you after that." Erica's eyes dropped. The air in the room felt too big, too charged. "I don't know what to do with that," she whispered. "I don't know how to hold it." Ivan didn't move closer. He didn't touch her. He just nodded, understanding. "I'll leave you alone if that's what you want." But she was already stepping back, pain and fear rushing in like cold wind. "I have to go." Erica went home. She didn't cry. She didn't move much at all. Just stood in her apartment, her bag still on her shoulder, coat unbuttoned, feeling like the world had slipped out from under her. She didn't want to be seen, not like this, and yet she'd been seen, by him. She curled into the corner of her couch, hugged a pillow, and let herself disappear for the rest of the night. When she finally found her breath, she picked up the phone. Her mom answered on the second ring. "Baby girl?" Erica's voice cracked. "Ma, something happened." By the time she finished telling the story, about the poems, the meeting, the reveal, Mabel Abram was already sitting down on her end of the line, arms crossed, voice low and fierce. "Okay," Mabel said. "You like him?" "I don't know." "Yes, you do." Erica was quiet. Mabel softened. "Erica, listen to me. Hiding is a reflex, I get it. But you have to talk to him. You owe yourself that much. Running ain't peace, it's just noise in a different key." "I'm scared," Erica whispered. "Good," her mother said. "That means it matters." The next afternoon, Ivan called. She almost let it go to voicemail. But she picked up. "I know somewhere we can talk," she said. They met at her uncle's catering store, closed on Mondays, except for prep work. The kitchen in the back was loud with pots and staff, but the tiny office in the corner was quiet. Ivan arrived dressed down for once, dark sweater, no tie. Still crisp, still composed, but somehow softer in the edges. He sat across from her in the worn chair and looked at her like she was the only person in the world. "I know this is impossible," he started. "You work for me, and my family, you've seen how they are. I'm expected to marry someone that matches the Landford legacy, which basically means someone polished and painfully boring." Erica offered a small laugh, tight and nervous. "I didn't plan for this, but I don't want to lie about it either." Erica swallowed. "I never thought someone like you would notice me. I don't like attention. I value my privacy, my peace. If anyone finds out, Ivan, I don't know what I'll do." He nodded. "I'd never expose you. You need to believe that." "I want to," she said, "but I also need to protect myself." They sat in that stillness for a moment. Not romantic, not dramatic, just real. Then Ivan said, "We don't have to define anything right now. We don't even have to name it. But if there's even a chance you feel what I feel, don't close the door yet. Let's just keep talking." Erica looked at him, and for the first time in days, she didn't feel overwhelmed. She just felt seen. And somehow, that was enough for now. For the next few weeks, Erica and Ivan existed in the quiet in-between. No dates. No hand-holding in elevators. Just glances exchanged like notes across a crowded room. The poems stopped, on paper at least. But in their meetings, in their passing interactions, the words lived in the pauses, in the way they spoke to each other when no one else was really listening. They developed a rhythm. Emails became a little warmer. Smiles lingered half a second longer. During a team review, Ivan asked a question and glanced at her, not like a CEO checking a box, but like a man who already knew her answer would be the one that mattered. And still no one noticed. No one but Miley. "You're glowing again," she whispered one morning over coffee. "Either it's that mystery poet, or you've discovered a skincare serum that should be classified as a controlled substance." Erica fought a smile. "I'm just breathing better lately." Miley raised an eyebrow. "Breathing with someone?" Erica didn't answer. That silence was all Miley needed. They were navigating carefully. Ivan never stayed too long on her floor. Erica never looked too interested in meetings. And in between those carefully constructed moments of restraint, they kept in contact through an encrypted messaging app that Ivan had insisted on. "Ivan, you made a point today about targeting millennial homeowners. I almost forgot we were in public." "Erica, I didn't. That's why I kept my head down after." "Ivan, you keep giving me reasons not to care what they expect of me." "Erica, don't say that unless you mean it." He did. That scared both of them. And then, cracks in the wall. It started with a dinner. His mother, Helen Landford, had arranged it without asking. Of course, Ivan arrived late, on purpose. He didn't want to sit through another night of social chess. But when he walked in and saw the Evans family seated across the table, perfect smiles, forced laughter, his irritation spiked. Helen poured wine and leaned over. "Their daughter is back from Florence. She's dying to meet you." Ivan leaned back in his chair, blank-faced. "Tell her to stop dying. It's a waste of energy." Helen's eyes narrowed. "You've been distracted lately. Late nights, flaky on social calls. I've known you 30 years, and I can tell when something, or someone, is pulling your focus." Ivan said nothing. "Who is she?" Helen said, voice low but sharp. "I know that look in your eye." "You've met someone." He kept his voice even. "She works for me." Helen's jaw tensed. "You're risking everything," she said. "This family name, your reputation." "My life," he interrupted. "It's my life." But the damage had been done. The fire had been lit. And now, eyes were watching. A few days later, Erica felt the shift. It wasn't Ivan. It was everything around him. People from the executive floor were suddenly stopping by, asking strange questions. Her inbox filled with vague HR reminders about fraternization protocol and ethical boundaries. Miley noticed first. "You're being watched," she whispered at her desk. "I don't know by who, but it's weird." Erica nodded once, eyes tight. "I feel it too." That afternoon, she found a note slipped into her drawer. Not a poem, just a scribbled sentence. "We have to be careful now, I'm sorry. I." That night, Erica called her mother. Mabel answered on the first ring. "Don't tell me you're backing out." "I think people are starting to figure it out," Erica said. "And I don't want to lose everything I've built. I've worked for this peace, my job, my privacy." "Then fight for it," Mabel said. "You can't be half in. You either love him and you push through, or you let it go. But don't hide and call it safety." Erica let the silence sit heavy for a beat. "What if I'm not built for this kind of love? Then why are you still holding on?" Mabel said softly. The next morning, Ivan was waiting for her on the rooftop garden above the office, where no one ever went before 10 a.m. He looked tired, less polished, but real. "I can't protect you from what they'll say," he told her. "But I can choose to stand beside you in the middle of it." Erica stepped close. Not enough for touch, but enough for truth. "I don't need you to protect me," she said. I just need to know this isn't a phase you'll outgrow. Ivan didn't flinch. It's not, he said. I've never been more certain of anything in my life. The message came through just after lunch. Please report to the executive floor. Mrs. Helen Landford would like a word. Erica stared at the screen. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Her tea had gone cold beside her, forgotten. She didn't ask questions. She knew. The walk to the 27th floor felt like climbing into a fire she didn't start. The elevator dinged open and the air was colder up here, still. Expensive, suffocating. She was escorted into a private conference room where Helen Landford stood at the head of a long table, dressed in immaculate black and pearl, like she was headed to a business funeral. Her eyes didn't smile. So, you're the girl, Helen said, as if Erica were some half-formed rumor she expected to blow away. Erica sat slowly, spine straight. Helen didn't sit. She stood, towering in a way that wasn't about height, but presence. She folded her arms and narrowed her eyes like a surgeon preparing an incision. I always say, she began, it's the quiet ones you watch, the ones who stay under the radar. They're always the ones hiding something. Erica didn't move. My son has no place in your life, Helen continued, voice silk-wrapped steel. He has responsibilities, ones you clearly aren't capable of understanding. He is the heir to a legacy, a business, the name that built this skyline. Still, Erica sat silent. Helen's lips curled. You're not the right fit, Miss Abram. You don't belong in our world. You may think this is some tragic love story, but trust me, it's not. It's a distraction, and it ends here. Then, sharper, look at you. What do you even have to say? Erica finally looked up, her face calm, unreadable. If the conversation is over, Mrs. Landford, she said evenly, I need to get back to work. They stared at each other. Helen, stunned by the lack of tears, the absence of begging, the absence of anything. But before either could speak again, the door flew open. Ivan. Hair, wind-swept, breath shallow, fury brimming in his eyes. He crossed the room in 3 long strides. Erica, he said, kneeling slightly beside her chair. Are you all right? She nodded, small but clear. He turned to his mother, and when he spoke, it was ice under fire. You have no right. Helen's brows lifted in cool defiance. What I do protects this company. Ivan's jaw tightened. No, what you did was invade someone's life. You went out of your way to search Mrs. Abram out, intentionally, and attack her. I'm protecting your future. You're jeopardizing it, he snapped. You want to talk about what affects this company? You created the situation. You made this a scandal. Not us. There wouldn't have been anything to deal with if you hadn't decided to make it a problem. Helen went still. Ivan stood straight, his voice now a command. Erica, you can go back to your desk. I need to speak with my mother in private. Erica rose slowly. Her hands trembled, but she kept them at her sides. As she passed him, Ivan brushed her fingers briefly with his, just enough to say, I'm here. She nodded once, and then she was gone. The elevator doors closed behind Erica, sealing off the tense air of the executive floor. Her legs carried her down to the 23rd, like muscle memory. But her mind was still upstairs. People were looking now, watching. As she stepped back into the open office space, heads turned slightly. Conversations paused mid-sentence. Nothing direct, nothing loud. But that particular shift was unmistakable. Whispers. They'd heard something. Miley found her before she reached her desk. You good? Erica hesitated, then nodded. Helen Landford summoned me. She had some things to say. I bet she did, Miley said, eyes darkening. You okay? I didn't break, Erica whispered. Damn right you didn't. By mid-afternoon, it was everywhere. Someone from HR was seen in a closed-door meeting. People were refreshing Slack channels, and speculating. Someone claimed to have seen Ivan rush into the conference room on 27 like a scene out of a legal drama. Erica kept her head down. She moved through the noise like she always had. Only now, they were watching her. But still, no one said anything out loud, and that silence was louder than gossip. Upstairs, the air was much sharper. Helen stood near the window, arms crossed. Ivan didn't sit. He leaned against the conference table, like it was the only thing keeping him from detonating. "You are sabotaging your future," Helen said. "No, I'm choosing it. You can't be serious. A woman like that?" Ivan cut her off. "Finish that sentence, and I swear, Mother, I won't just walk away from this conversation. I'll walk away from you." Helen flinched, but only slightly. Ivan stepped forward. "You think strength is dressing the part, going to the right schools, smiling at the right charity events. But Erica, she's strength without the noise. She's smarter than half the people on your board, and she's never once tried to make herself bigger than she is. That's real power." "And what about your power?" Helen said bitterly. "What happens when the press finds out? When the investors start asking questions?" "I'll answer them," Ivan said. "I'm not ashamed of her." Helen narrowed her eyes. "You're willing to risk your legacy for this?" Ivan's voice was calm, final. "I'm not risking it. I'm redefining it." Downstairs, Erica sat at her desk, pretending to work. But her notebook sat open just beside the keyboard. Instead, she flipped through the pages of his old ones. Each line now carried a face, a voice, a presence. And for the first time, she didn't feel like a secret. She felt like a choice. The cafe on the edge of the city wasn't one either of them had been to before. It was quiet, tucked between a used bookstore and a dry cleaner, with soft jazz playing through speakers, and a bell that jingled sweetly when the door opened. No one knew them here. No one stared. No whispers. Just warmth, old wood, and the scent of cinnamon and espresso. Ivan sat across from Erica, in a booth by the window, his blazer folded beside him. He looked less like a CEO, and more like a man with something real to say. "I need to know," he said quietly, "if you want to expand this, our relationship, into the world. Because if we do, there's no halfway, no hiding. Going public will turn your life upside down. And I need to know that's something you want, not something I'm pulling you into." Erica sipped her tea slowly, setting the cup down with both hands. Her gaze met his without hesitation. "I'm quiet," she said, "but I'm not weak. I've never needed noise to be strong, and I've never needed approval to belong." She let that settle before continuing. "What people say about me doesn't define who I am. I come from a large, loud family who doesn't know the meaning of keeping things private. I've had support wrapped around me since birth, whether I wanted it or not." She paused. "But what scares me?" Her voice softened. "What I fear is being truly seen by someone who can affect my heart, someone who could break it if they ever stopped looking." A small silence passed between them, thick with meaning. "I need to know," she said. "Can I trust you with my heart?" Ivan didn't rush his answer. He looked at her the way he had since the first time, like she wasn't just someone he wanted to hold, but someone he respected. "I'm not ashamed of you," he said. "Not in a boardroom, not in a headline, not in front of my mother. I will fight for us, not because it's hard, but because it's worth it." Erica looked out the window for a moment, then back at him. A small, brave smile broke across her face. "Then we're in this." The news came fast. An official email went out the next Monday. Professional, composed, tightly worded. "The CEO of Landford Real Estate has entered a personal relationship with a company employee, disclosed to HR per policy. All ethical guidelines have been reviewed." And just like that, The whispers weren't whispers anymore. Some people congratulated Erica in passing. Others side-eyed her in meetings. HR monitored things more closely. But through it all, she held her head high. She didn't flinch. She didn't shrink. And Ivan? He walked beside her without hesitation. Until the summons came. Boardroom. 8 a.m. Mandatory. Ivan stepped into the room where the board of directors sat in a semicircle of suits and inherited wealth. They looked up with a mix of irritation and concern. One of the older men cleared his throat. "Mr. Landford, we need clarity on this situation with your employee. It's causing tension." Another board member, cold, clipped, added, "This affects perception, investors, control. We're not here to judge your personal life, but the implications." Ivan raised a hand, calm and firm. "Let me stop you right there." The room quieted. "I disclosed everything per HR policy. The relationship doesn't interfere with her work or mine. She's not a liability, she's an asset, and more importantly, I'm not going to justify love to a room of people more worried about headlines than humanity." Some of them shifted, uncomfortable. "If any of you are seriously concerned about the future of this company," Ivan continued, voice cooling to glass, "you should be more worried about falling behind in a competitive market, not about who I choose to care for." He looked around the room, unblinking. Unless anyone would like to admit they've never loved someone who changed their perspective, I suggest we move on. Silence. And then, one by one, they nodded. Meeting adjourned. Helen Landford moved with precision, never too fast, never unmeasured. She preferred to manipulate behind closed doors, but this time, she made it official. "You're needed in London." The message came through Ivan's assistant as a priority request. 3 weeks, in-person oversight, a sudden shift in plans that conveniently pulled him thousands of miles from Erica. Just as their relationship had gone public, Ivan saw right through it. He didn't even blink. Instead, he walked straight into his mother's office and closed the door behind him. "Call off the games," he said, "now." Helen looked up from her tablet, feigning confusion. "Pardon?" "The London stunt. If you think putting an ocean between me and Erica will weaken anything, you're wrong." Helen set her tablet down. "You're being irrational." "I'm being serious," he said, jaw tight. "If you keep trying to sabotage us, I'll skip right past polite and propose. And then you'll have to explain to every dinner guest why you pushed your son into a corner." Helen's eyes narrowed. Ivan straightened. "If you truly care about this family, then get to know her. You might find out she's not the problem. You are." 3 nights later, an invitation arrived. Formal, cream envelope, Landford crest. Helen was inviting Erica to dinner. Erica read it twice before tucking it back into her bag. Ivan had warned her. "It's not a dinner, it's a test, but you don't have to go." Erica's voice was even. "Yes, I do." The Landford estate was exactly what Erica imagined. Towering white columns, long drive, trimmed hedges. Inside, everything gleamed like it had never been touched by real life. She wore a pale blue silk blouse and tailored black trousers. Minimal makeup. Hair swept back. Quiet power. Ivan's hand brushed hers as the butler led them into the grand dining room. That's when she saw them. The Evans. And their niece, Mandy, dressed like a couture ad, seated beside Helen. Ivan went stiff. This wasn't part of the plan. "I know," Erica whispered, "but I'm not retreating." Helen greeted her like a queen would greet a guest beneath her station. Cold, polished, smiling just enough to be cruel. Dinner began with champagne flutes and small talk. Helen waited until the soup was served before striking. "So, Erica," Helen said with false sweetness, "do you know much about formal table etiquette? I imagine your family dinners are more casual." Erica dabbed her napkin delicately. I was raised by a Southern mother and a Caribbean grandmother. I knew where the salad fork went before I could spell menu. The table paused. Helen's smile thinned. Later, Mr. Evans turned the conversation toward business. The Gen Z market is fascinating, he said. Impossible to pin down. Too fluid. I disagree, Erica said gently. They're values-driven. If a brand doesn't reflect something they believe in, they drop it. It's not chaos, it's consciousness. Mr. Evans leaned in, intrigued. Go on. Erica laid out demographic patterns, trend loops, and emotional data points. When she finished, Mr. Evans was nodding enthusiastically. That's more insightful than anything I've heard in 3 board meetings. Mandy scowled. Then, as dessert arrived, Mandy leaned toward her and muttered something in French, something snide about Erica's blouse being modest, in a provincial kind of way. Erica sipped her wine, then responded, also in French. Her accent was flawless. The room froze. What did you say? Helen asked. Erica smiled. Just that fashion is subjective, but class is unmistakable. Mandy fell quiet. I wasn't aware you spoke French, Helen said slowly. I do, Erica replied. And Spanish, and Haitian Creole, and some Italian, and am deciding what language is next. Mandy, how does it feel to be second choice? Wasn't the Evans daughter supposed to meeting Ivan? Mandy turns red. Mr. Evans chuckled. You're full of surprises, Miss Abram. Erica met Helen's gaze across the table. I'm quiet, she said, but I know when to speak and when to be silent. She folded her napkin slowly and placed it beside her plate. And tonight, I refuse to be silent. Ivan looked at her with something beyond pride, something closer to awe. As the butler cleared the table, Helen sat motionless, lips pressed thin. For the first time, she had nothing to say. Erica didn't win her approval that night, but she earned her respect. And in the Landford house, that meant something. Helen Landford never made decisions based on emotions. She built her reputation on logic, on perception, on power moves that didn't leave fingerprints. For days after that dinner, she found herself replaying Erica Abram's voice in her head. The fluency, the clarity, the control. Erica had disarmed a table of status and expectation without raising her voice once. Helen hated to admit it, but the girl had presence, and more than that, insight. Not long after, she opened a folder that had been sitting on her desk for weeks. One of the market strategy briefs from the research team. Erica's name was listed in the byline, small, discreet, but there. Helen reread it twice, and then she picked up the phone. When Erica got the meeting request, her heart stuttered. But the tone was different this time. Not cold, not hostile, just professional. Ms. Abram, please join me in my office at 9 a.m. No reason listed. She arrived 5 minutes early. Helen looked up from her tablet as Erica walked in. Sit. No smile, but no sneer either. I've been thinking, Helen began, about the Gen Z insight you shared. The emotional trend data, the shift in loyalty patterns. You're not wrong. And if this company is going to survive another 50 years, we can't keep operating like it's 2005. Erica stayed quiet, waiting. I want your opinion, Helen said, the words clearly foreign on her tongue. If you were running this company, how would you begin expanding into the next market wave? Erica blinked, surprised, but recovered quickly. I'd begin with trust, she said. Not flashy marketing. Belonging. Gen Z doesn't buy a product. They buy an identity that aligns with them. If Landford wants to compete, we need to show we understand their values, not just their wallets. Helen raised an eyebrow. So you believe in emotion over economics? I believe they're connected now more than ever, Erica replied. And we're behind. Helen leaned back in her chair, studying her, not just tolerating her, but considering her. Then the door swung open. Ivan, his shoulders tense, eyes sweeping the room, landing on his mother like a fuse searching for a spark. I heard Erica was here. Helen sighed. Must you barge in every time you get nervous? I just didn't know what this was. Erica gave him a soft look. It's okay. Helen gestured to an empty chair. If you must be in here, sit. Do it quietly. Ivan sat beside Erica, close enough that their arms nearly touched. But he said nothing, just listened, eyes moving between the two women, who now held more power in his life than any boardroom. Helen turned back to Erica. You've earned more than my son's attention. You have vision. I want you to present your findings, those Gen Z buyer profiles, to the board. Erica's eyebrows lifted. You want me in the boardroom? Helen nodded. Yes, in 2 weeks. I expect a sharp presentation, no fluff. Ivan blinked, stunned. You're serious? Deadly. Erica recovered with a slow, steady breath. Then I'll be ready. Helen stood. Good, I'm tired of being the smartest person in every room. Maybe you'll finally prove that someone else deserves a seat at this table. As they walked out, Ivan leaned in, whispering, You just stunned my mother into giving you a platform. That's almost mythological. Erica smirked. I told you. I'm quiet. But I know when to speak. 2 weeks, that's what Helen gave her. 14 days to research, synthesize, design, and deliver a presentation to a board of billionaires, many of whom didn't even realize her name was on the reports they'd skimmed for years. Erica cleared her calendar. She stayed late, arrived early. Built slide decks from scratch, cross-checked demographic data with psychographics, blending hard numbers with human stories. By the end of the first week, her desk was buried in printouts, color-coded notes, and half-drunk teacups. Her notebook of poems sat unopened, pushed to the edge of her desk like a relic from a past life. Ivan watched her shift. He supported her, brought her food, reminded her to sleep, proofread a few sections. But he could feel it happening. She was disappearing into the work. One night, he stopped by her apartment with takeout. She answered the door with a loose bun, glasses on, and highlighters tucked behind her ear. You're here, she said, surprised. You forgot, he said, not unkindly. Her eyes softened. I'm sorry. I want to get it right. I know, he handed her the food. But I miss you. Erica stepped aside, letting him in. This isn't forever. I know that too, he said, but his voice was quieter now. As the second week began, Erica felt the weight of it. Not just the presentation, but what it meant. This wasn't about impressing a boardroom. It was about finally being seen on her terms. And with that came something new. Fear. Not fear of failure, but of success, of what it might cost, of how it might change her. Late one night, while reviewing her slides, she caught a glimpse of herself in the reflection of her screen. Tired eyes, strong posture. Someone who looked like she belonged in a room full of power and didn't need permission to stand there. The night before the meeting, she lay on her couch while Ivan sat beside her, reading through her final notes. You're ready, he said. I feel like I'm walking into a fire. You are, he replied. But you're the match. She looked at him. You still okay with this? With you becoming everything you're meant to be? Always. But it might pull us in different directions. Ivan set the papers down. Then we adjust, we don't break. Boardroom day. Erica stood at the head of the long, glossy table. No nerves on her face, only focus. She began with a question. Do you know what the next generation values more than anything? She let the silence hang. Truth, transparency, and brands that speak to them, not at them. She moved through her slides with poise, confidence, and control. Her voice didn't tremble once. Helen watched her from the far end of the table. For the first time in years, someone else was commanding the room, and the board noticed. By the end of the presentation, Mr. Evans, once skeptical, leaned forward, impressed. Others nodded, murmured. One asked for her slides to be sent post-meeting. Another suggested a strategy session. Helen sat back with a knowing look. "You were right," she said after the room cleared. They needed to hear a new voice. Erica straightened. "Thank you for giving me the chance." "You earned it," Helen said. "And maybe, you're not just good for Ivan, you're good for this company." Later in the elevator, Erica finally let out the breath she'd been holding for 2 weeks. Ivan took her hand. "You did it," he said. She looked up at him. "We did." And for the first time since they met, they stood on even ground. Not CEO and employee, not secret poet and reader, but partners. With Helen's approval behind them, Erica and Ivan were finally free to exist in the open. No more secrets, no more coded glances, just space to be. They didn't rush into spotlights or headlines. Instead, they took their time. Weekends became theirs. They read books side by side in parks, walked together at sunset with their fingers loosely intertwined, shared long dinners filled with soft music and soft laughter. Ivan learned that Erica hummed when she read something she loved, and she learned that Ivan collected first editions in secret and handled them like living things. It wasn't flashy, it was real. And then one evening in late August, Erica looked up from her glass of wine and said, "I want you to come to my family's Labor Day cookout." Ivan blinked. "Really?" She smiled. "Yeah, but I'm warning you now." "Oh?" "They're going to ask a lot of personal questions, not subtle ones, about us, about the future. My cousin will probably pretend to fight you in the driveway. It's a thing." Ivan chuckled. "I'll be ready." "No, you won't," she said. "But just don't let them pressure you." Labor Day came, and Mabel Abrams was in the backyard. The house smelled like smoked meat and coconut oil. Erica's aunts were already yelling over music. Toddlers were running through sprinkler mist, and someone's playlist kept rotating between gospel and trap. Ivan and Erica arrived hand in hand. He had barely stepped out of the car before Mabel opened the front door and pointed. "You two, help with the tables. Folding chairs are still in the shed." "Yes, ma'am," Erica muttered, grabbing Ivan's wrist with a grin. "Told you." They spent the first hour setting up folding tables, laying down floral-patterned cloths, and stringing mismatched decorations across the backyard. Ivan, despite his designer sneakers and pressed linen shirt, didn't complain once. He carried trays, cut lemons, even fetched ice. They didn't treat him like a CEO. They treated him like family. By mid-afternoon, the house was full. Laughter boomed from every direction. People hugged Ivan like they already knew him. Someone slipped him a plate loaded with ribs and mac and cheese. And Erica's cousins grilled him with questions between bites of deviled eggs. But the real moment came later. As the sun dipped low and the music quieted, the senior circle formed. Lawn chairs pulled close, cold drinks in hand, eyes sharp despite age. They waved Ivan over. He looked back at Erica, who shrugged with a smirk. "Good luck." He stepped into the circle. "Son," Mr. Russell said, adjusting his hat, "you know this is the time we ask the real questions." Ivan smiled, hands clasped. "I assumed. Erica's our girl, smart as hell, loyal to a fault. We know she likes you. So, when's the ring coming?" Laughter rippled through the chairs. Ivan didn't flinch. He looked around the circle, met every eye, and answered calmly, "I can't rush her. If I do, she'll run, so I'm taking my time. Being careful. She's not someone you handle casually." The elders nodded in unison. "She always been like that," one of the aunties said. "Moved on her own time." "Good answer," Mr. Russell said. "You may stay." Ivan exhaled, grinning. "Appreciate it." As the night settled in and the grill burned low, Erica found Ivan sitting under the porch light, laughing with two of her uncles about football teams he didn't even follow. He looked happy. Not just content, but home. She stepped beside him, sliding her hand into his. He turned to her. "You good?" she asked. "I know family now." he said quietly. And I know what I've always wanted. Erica rested her head against his shoulder. Heart full. Welcome home, Ivan. The week after Labor Day, the energy at Landford Real Estate buzzed with the usual end-of-summer urgency. Clients pushing deals, marketing teams prepping fall campaigns, and quiet whispers about new leadership structures. Erica was in her office reviewing analytics reports when the knock came. It was Helen, not her assistant, not an email. Helen Landford, in person. Walk with me, she said. They walked the halls side by side in silence until Helen finally spoke. I'm restructuring our market intelligence division, she said. Our board was impressed with your presentation. Frankly, I was too. We need someone who understands the shift in consumer values. Erica glanced at her, heart picking up speed. I want you to head the new Consumer Insight Strategy team, Helen said. Senior leadership. You'll build it from the ground up. Report directly to me. Erica stopped walking. That's a lot. It is, but you're ready, and we both know this place needs your voice. Erica didn't respond right away. The magnitude of it hit her in waves. This wasn't just a promotion. It was a leap, a legacy move. Take the weekend, Helen said. Give me your answer Monday. That Friday, Erica found a handwritten note tucked into her tote. Dress comfortable, sunset colors, 5 p.m. I'll be waiting. She smiled and followed the instructions. When she stepped outside at 5 sharp, Ivan was leaning against his car with a soft grin and no tie. Just a Henley shirt, sleeves rolled up, and that looked like she was the only person in the world. He opened the passenger door with a bow. No hints? She asked, sliding in. None, just trust me. They drove for nearly an hour, out past the city, into the countryside, where the air felt easier to breathe. Finally, he pulled onto a gravel road leading to a vineyard she'd never seen before. A private setup waited under a canopy of lights, blankets, pillows, books stacked in soft piles, candles flickering in jars. A picnic basket sat in the middle, still warm. Erica blinked, stunned. What is this? Our 1-year mark, Ivan said, stepping beside her. 1 year since I left you that first poem. She turned to him slowly. You remembered? I remember everything about you. They sat on the blanket, watching the sun melt into the vineyard. He poured her wine. They shared food, laughed, talked. Eventually, she rested her head against his shoulder. I got an offer today, she said. He stiffened slightly. Good? Big. Helen wants me to head a new division, report directly to her. Ivan's face lit with something between pride and awe. That's incredible, E. I haven't said yes yet. Why not? Because it changes everything. My time, my focus, my pace. And I needed to sit in this moment first, with you. Ivan turned to her, gently holding her chin so she faced him. Whatever path you choose, I'm on it with you. You sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. She smiled, eyes soft. Then I'm saying yes, to the job and to you. They sealed it with a kiss under lavender skies and the hum of cicadas in the trees. Ivan Landford had planned mergers worth millions, navigated boardroom warfare with grace, and negotiated international contracts across time zones. But none of that prepared him for planning a proposal. Because this wasn't just a moment. This was Erica. And for her, it couldn't be performative. It couldn't be flashy. It had to be honest, intentional, and rooted in something real. Like poetry, like family, like home. So he didn't hire a planner. He didn't buy fireworks or rent a rooftop. Instead, he started quietly collecting things. A copy of her favorite poem, a handwritten letter, a small velvet box he kept tucked in the back of his closet. Then came the perfect opportunity. Party at Aunt Regina's next weekend, Mabel said over the phone, like she was listing items on a grocery run. Erica didn't blink. What are we celebrating this time? Grandma's back mole came back benign. Erica smiled. Of course it did. And invite Ivan, Mabel added. We could use an extra hand with the chairs. That Saturday, they pulled up to Aunt Regina's yard to find balloons already up, lawn chairs everywhere, and a grill smoking like it owed someone money. Ivan looked around, rolled up his sleeves, and said, "What are we lifting today?" "You two, tables," Aunt Regina barked before hugging them both. "Ivan, you good at hanging banners?" "I'm excellent at following instructions." Erica laughed. "Careful, that's how she'll make you climb the roof." They worked side by side, setting up drink tables, cutting watermelon, helping Mabel arrange the dessert trays in color order. Ivan moved through the chaos like he belonged, which by now he did. Erica's uncles slapped his back. Her cousins pulled him into games of dominoes. Her aunties grilled him about when he was going to lock it down. And once again, the senior circle dragged him under the tree for a heart-to-heart. He didn't mind, because everything about this world, the noise, the warmth, the wild love of it, felt like something he'd missed his whole life. And today, it felt like something he could call his. As the party hit full swing, music playing and kids running wild, Ivan slipped away for a moment. He walked to the front porch, pulled out his phone, and opened a note titled, "The Proposal, Her Way." His fingers scrolled through the bullet points. Not in public, not showy, personal, private, sacred. Tie it to poetry, tie it to home. He took a deep breath. Then he slid the velvet box out of his jacket pocket and looked at the ring inside. Simple, classic, a band that would look like it was always meant to be on her hand. He turned as footsteps came up the porch. Erica. She was barefoot now, holding a slice of cake in one hand and her heels in the other. "You disappeared," she said with a soft smile. "Just taking a moment," he said, pocketing the box before she saw. She sat beside him on the porch swing. "This family's a lot. It's everything I didn't know I needed." She looked over at him, eyes shining under the porch light. "I'm going to marry you one day, Ivan Landford." His breath caught. "You are?" "I am. But not because anyone asks, and not because we've been together long enough. Let it happen. I want it to be ours. No pressure, no spotlight." He swallowed his smile. "Then that's how it'll happen." She leaned against his shoulder. And he knew, when the time came to ask her, it would be right here. In a space filled with people who didn't care about titles, just truth. When the music softened. When she was barefoot and glowing from cake and sun and love. She would say yes, but only because she chose it. Ivan had been rehearsing the question for weeks. But in the end, what mattered wasn't how he said it. It was who he said it to, and in whose presence. And so, just after setting down the last tray of lemon bars at Aunt Regina's party, he pulled Mabel aside. She raised a brow, towel over one shoulder. "You okay, baby?" Ivan looked nervous, which for him was rare. "I wanted to ask you something." Mabel crossed her arms but smiled softly. "Go ahead." "I love Erica," he said. "In every way a man can love a woman. She changed my life, and I want to spend the rest of it with her." Mabel blinked quickly, already misty-eyed. "I'd like your blessing," he said. "And if you're okay with it, I'd like to propose today. Here, with everyone, her world." Mabel didn't say a word at first. She just hugged him so hard he nearly lost his breath. Then she stepped back, wiping her face. "Don't you make me cry before I give a speech. Come on." Outside, the music lowered. Mabel stood on the back porch with a look only she could wear. Half love, half command. "All right now," she shouted. "If you are inside, I need you to come out. And if you're already outside and sitting, stand up." Voices quieted. Chairs scraped. Laughter died down to murmurs. People spilled onto the lawn, plates in hand, curious. Then Mabel pointed to Erica and Ivan. "You two, come stand right here, in front of me." Erica looked confused but obeyed, wiping her hands on a napkin as she walked up. Ivan followed, calm but trembling inside. Mabel looked around the yard, her voice strong. "Everybody knows my daughter is quiet. Always has been. But that quietness? That's strength. That's focus. That's vision. She sees things most people miss, and she works twice as hard without ever needing the spotlight." Erica's eyes filled. Mabel turned to Ivan. "And you, son, you saw her for who she really is, and you didn't try to change her. You walked with her. I thanked you for that." Ivan nodded, swallowing hard. "Now, before we go any further," Mabel said, "I want my baby to tell y'all about the promotion she's been hiding." Erica blinked, caught off guard. "Mommy? Tell them." Erica glanced at Ivan, then at her family. She cleared her throat, voice wavering. "I've been promoted to head of consumer insight strategy," she said. "I'll be leading a new division at Landford Real Estate and reporting directly to the board." Gasps, claps, a few shouts of, "That's our girl," and I knew she was next. Erica smiled, heart full. She turned to Ivan, reaching for his hand to thank him. But he wasn't standing anymore. He was on one knee. The crowd went silent, completely, impossibly silent. Erica froze, tears already slipping down her cheeks before he could even open his mouth. Ivan looked up at her, eyes shining. "I didn't want to wait another day to show you what you mean to me. You've been the calm in my storm, the fire in my cold, and the voice I didn't know I was missing. Marry me, Erica. Be my home." She stood there, shaking her head yes, over and over, covering her mouth with both hands. "Yes." She finally whispered through the tears. "Yes. Yes." And then the silence exploded. Cheers, applause, someone hollered. "About time." The senior circle started dancing. Kids screamed. Aunt Regina cried and fanned herself with a paper plate. Mabel pulled Ivan into a hug, then Erica, then both of them together. In the middle of the chaos, Ivan whispered in Erica's ear, "You didn't run." She smiled through her tears. "You didn't give me a reason to." The moment Ivan and Erica told Helen the news of their engagement, she froze for just a second, then launched into motion. "Oh, we'll need to call Renee for the invitations, and we'll have to fly in Chef Laurent. The guest list, well, it'll be at least 400, but no more than 6. "Mother," Ivan interrupted, hands on his hips. "I know that look. Slow down." Helen waved him off like a fly. "Please, you are a Landford, and Erica is a Landford now too. And we don't do small." She chose her dress. She helped pick the music. She made sure her family had a say, had a table, had a voice. And on that perfect spring day, under a canopy of magnolia blossoms, Erica and Ivan exchanged vows in front of 2 families that had once seemed worlds apart, but now danced like they'd always belonged together. They kissed, they danced, they ate until their stomachs hurt, and laughed until their cheeks did too. Then they slipped out before the night was over, holding hands and ducking into a quiet car bound for their honeymoon. 10 years later, the Landford estate was louder now. There were crayons on coffee tables, half-finished puzzles on the floor, and toy cars hidden under mahogany chairs. The scent of morning waffles drifted from the kitchen, and somewhere in the background, someone was singing off-key to an old cartoon theme song. Ivan walked barefoot through the living room, holding their youngest, Grace, just over 1 year, against his chest while trying to sip coffee without spilling it. Jonah, now 6, ran in circles with a cape tied around his neck, yelling, "I'm the boss of space." And Simone, their calm middle child at age 4, sat quietly on the rug, flipping through a picture book, her hair full of barrettes and her questions deeper than her age. Through it all, Erica stood at the kitchen island in sweats and a silk headscarf, making a grocery list, tapping a pencil against her chin. She still hummed when she thought, still read poetry at sunrise, still looked at him like he was more than just a husband, but home. Ivan came up behind her and wrapped his free arm around her waist. "Tired?" he asked, voice soft in her ear. She leaned into him. "Just a little chaos today." He smiled. "I wouldn't trade a second of it." They kissed. Grace babbled between them. Jonah raced past with a toy spaceship. Simone turned a page. And in the middle of it all, love didn't just survive, it thrived. Because they had built something stronger than a wedding. They had built a life. And after 10 years, it was still theirs. Loud, layered, messy, sacred. Exactly the way they liked it. The end. Hope you enjoyed this wonderful love story by Green Tea Tales. Help our channel grow with likes, shares, and subscribes. Thank you.